Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Christian Jackson. I'm an undergraduate student studying health administration and integrated health, not literature, children's literature, even adult literature, or any type of literature for that matter. I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion a stakeholder on the matter. I'd like to talk about it anyway. One thing that I am, however, is the mother of a little girl who I'd prefer to know the truth about her history. That is a story for another day. Let's begin. Women's movement, historical women and the movement forward. An important topic in today's learning environment, but why is it so censored in children's literature? I'm pretty sure that we are all aware of the backhand women have faced for hundreds of years. Before we dig deeper, allow me to discuss several censored books that feature women's history. Let's dive in to our first depiction of the history of the women's movement. I'll begin by saying these two are friends and you may have heard of them. Amelia Earhart and Eleanor Roosevelt. Amelia and Eleanor for a Ride by Pam Munoz Ryan. As the book tells, Amelia Earhart, first female aviator pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, and Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, were friends, which may be hard for some to comprehend. How could they be friends? How could they have met? The book explains. The story tells of the time the two friends got together the same as any pair of friends would and enjoyed each other's presence. They just had fun. Flying and driving through Washington. Why is this not common knowledge to the public? Is it not okay for two friends to come together disregarding public opinion? Of course it is. However, public opinion is a heavy burden to carry. So it may seem appropriate to censor this knowledge, to conceal it in a way that only those who want to know may know. When it comes to children, friendship is important. So maybe this book is a great way to relay the message. In this case, it might seem important for children's literature to remain educational, hence the censored books. The authors behind censored books have so much to teach. Historically, books have always been about moral teaching and entertainment because books are fundamental. They investigate the truth, explore possibility, and create meaning. When thinking of books, you may think it's just words. However, children's literature is much more than just words. As Professor Rudine Sims Bishop once said, books are mirrors, windows, and glass sliding doors. Children see their world through books. They seek individual meaning. They want to see themselves, their family, and friends, something they can relate to. A perfect example of the lesson of individualism is shown in She Persisted by Chelsea Clinton. To name a few individuals who may sound familiar in the book include Helen Keller, Harriet Tubman, Nellie Bly, Margaret Chase Smith, Ruby Bridges, and the list goes on. We know of these people because of our constant history lessons, and individually we relate to them. Behind each of them is a story. That is the same way children connect to books. The world around us has so much to offer. She Persisted teaches a lesson of value. You can do whatever you put your mind to. Another great lesson for children. This may not be one of the censored books, but not all of the details are there. Censoring children's literature to only include what doesn't hurt is detrimental to the flexibility of understanding. It is hard to understand what is not written in plain text. Speaking of plain text, one other book by Mary Talbot, Kate Charlesworth, and Brian Talbot, Sally Heathcote, Suffragette, just so happens to be a comic book. An actual graphic, non-fiction comic book that portrays the daily life of Sally Heathcote, a housemaid during a tough time for women. A time during which women were fighting against women's suffrage, inability to vote. Hence the term suffragette. Historically, women have consistently persevered through some tough times. The benefit in knowing the details is a personal gain, similar to the gift of knowing the best-kept secret. Only this secret is one best kept between older adults. I can't say that I remember ever being told as a child that there was once a time women couldn't vote. I guess if you know of women's suffrage, then you know. Expanding children's literature to cover these light topics instead of censoring them is an opportunity of enlightenment. Another opportunity to teach children something that is unheard of is in a lesson about the industrialization of the U.S., an important time for immigrants. What I'm getting to here is that several parts lead to a whole. Have you ever heard of the shirtwaist? Well, the shirtwaist was the most popular garment worn by women in the late 1800s to early 1900s. The shirtwaist industry was a popular one. Shirtwaist labor, not so much. Shirtwaist workers could be as young as 14 years old at work, earning a living to afford food for the dinner table. They worked untold hours in unimaginable conditions for little pay. Brave Girl by Michelle Markel is about a young girl named Clara Limlich, who goes to work for her family despite being so young as a garment worker. She becomes a major leader of the shirtwaist labor strikes. She helps to set the stage for workers today, earning better working conditions and pay. This is another important lesson for children to be taught. There were individuals here before them that wanted to make change. They can create that same change in an area that they are passionate about. The depths of children's literature are untold. To encourage you to explore even further, I have one last story I want you to think about. A true story from Africa, Wangere's Trees of Peace by Jeanette Winter. As a young girl, Wangari loved trees. She imagined them to be green umbrellas over Kenya. Under them, she'd plant crops with her mother. She is so passionate about trees, but soon she grows older. It is time to leave for America for an educational scholarship. When Wangari returns to Kenya, she learns that the land is barren. The government has torn down the trees to build buildings. Wangari is concerned for the red earth and begins to replant trees. She gathers women from all over Kenya to replant trees, rows of trees. She is ridiculed for her passion, but she continues to plant her trees. Kenya is soon covered in trees again. The women of Kenya are appreciative, food can grow. The earth is filled. The story of Wangari teaches another lesson of value, the same as the other books I've presented. Growing up, I always wondered why my books always seemed to convey a message of happiness when the world was not the same around me. I suspect that the same goes for other children and possibly my peers. It could be that I chose to read a selection of happy books or that the bookshelves were filled with them. The importance I'm trying to stress here is similar to a topic conveyed by Chimamanda Adichie in a previous TED Talk, the danger of a single story. By limiting the emotions of the text, I felt forced to believe that all of the world was happy, setting the tone of a single story. Women's history is an important topic for me. I choose to discuss it because sometimes we forget to. I am a woman myself, and another young woman or man may need someone to explain some things the world may never divulge to them. My desire is that I am able to convey to you the power of books, especially books written for children. Children do not remain children, just the same as how we have become adults. It is important that we develop a way to teach without censoring. Limited information is invaluable. There is nothing to gain from nothing. These books have empowered me to sit still and listen when it is most important, because I know that something is limited in what I'm being told. I think that listening is a powerful tool to use, and children know it too. They listen and they learn. So take that into consideration, and you be the one to determine what deserves censorship and what does not. Thank you.